Yeah, thanks for jumping on. Basically, I just want to like chat and like figure out um, your journey through the process of making a VR game and going through that.
Yeah, no, happy to tell my story. It's always fun to talk to people who actually know VR and are in it. So let's do it,
Exactly.
man.
Cool. Okay, first question then. How did you get into everything? Like, what did you do before VR?
Um, so my story's kind of funny because it all actually started with the book Ready Player One, which is actually sitting
Okay.
right there. So I was in college and my mom read Ready Player One and she gave it to me and was just like, "Hey, you're gonna love this book." And I was like, "Okay," right? And it kind of sat on the shelf. And then one day, like I started reading it and I just plowed through it. Like I think I finished the book in like less than 24 hours. Like just that
It's a
book
solid
was
book.
it was amazing, dude. Like I was just so sold. And so I was in college and like I just read this book and I was like thinking about virtual reality and I was like, man, where is this technology going? And it turns out that my university had just hired a professor who had graduated with a PhD in human computer interaction, specifically doing research for the military on mixed reality technology.
Ooh.
And he had come to my university to start a research lab on anything virtual or augmented reality related. And so he was like, "Hey, I'm starting this lab. I'm looking for like research assistants. If you are interested, hit me up." And I was like, "I'm interested." So I became a research assistant for this guy. I took his classes. I learned how to use Unity to rapid prototype like virtual and augmented reality, just applications and stuff. And from that, I became like the resident expert on VR and AR at my university. I had professors like asking me questions and asking me to prototype things. And so I was just in it. And then around that same time, because we were buying like all of the latest and greatest tech, we got a hold of like the Quest One, right as it was
Mm,
coming out. And like I tried that and I was like, man, this is the future. Wireless, like that is it, And
yeah.
soon after that, or right before that, came out SideQuest. And I was like, this is where the next AAA games are going to come from. Like, this is it. Like, this is the perfect indie spot to get onto the virtual reality store. This is it. And I was like, where's the gap? Like, what doesn't SideQuest have yet that's going to blow up? And I just like poured through SideQuest and was looking for like, where's the thing? Where's the thing? And I realized there was no pirate content. There wasn't something akin to Sea of Thieves,
Yes.
right?
Uh-huh.
And that's like that was the idea that got me going on making my own
Awesome.
game. So
Well, hey, let's take a look at the trailer first before we get into any more questions.
Oh, very nice. Okay. How long ago did you start on Sail VR?
the first prototype of Sail that I put up was in 2020 on July 10th. Yeah. So it's a funny
Okay.
story because I was bored at work because it was 2020. We're all in lockdown, and I was working as a system administrator. And I was just like, I hate this job. I hate my life. I would rather be making VR stuff. And so I was like, screw it. And then I threw together a really quick prototype of just like a ship sailing backwards, actually. And it's like you could climb around on it and whatnot. And I put that up on SideQuest and I just basically pitched my idea. I was like, this is my idea for an open world VR pirate game. What do you guys think? And like that day, it got like almost 300 downloads. And I was like, okay, there's something here. I'm going to keep going with this. So
Very nice.
yeah, that's how it all started.
Okay. For people who don't know what Sail VR is, give me your little spiel.
I mean, the easiest way to describe it is Sea of Thieves in VR, right? You are a pirate. We're working on multiplayer right now so that you and your buddies can go out into the world, find treasure, sink pirate ships, fight other people, sword fight, skeletons, the whole 9 yards. Be a pirate in VR. That's our theme.
Very nice. And then how big is your team right now? Is it just you? You have a couple more people?
No, yeah. So luckily, lately things as a business have been going super well. So we are now a team of 4 full-time developers, including myself, and then like 3 or 4 contracted artists and devs. Yeah, so like 4 full-time and like 3 part-time. So
Oh, very nice.
growing
That's
rapidly.
Yeah, that's really cool. And is that from how did you get into, I guess we should probably start more at the beginning. Um but like what was the process from, okay, so you released your little demo on SideQuest, got 300 downloads, and then from there you quit your job and just jumped right into it? What was that kind of process?
Yeah, so that job I was working was actually like my college job. So I was doing
Okay.
that while doing school. And what ended up happening is I kept working on the game on the side. And I was about to graduate. I had a job offer lined up right out of college to go work for the military, prototyping stuff for them in virtual
Yeah.
reality. So I had that job offer lined up, and I had this game, and at that point I had gotten almost like 50,000 downloads of like just like the free demo that I had put out.
Very
And
nice.
so I was talking to like some of my friends who are like a little bit wealthier and stuff, and we were talking about it, and I was just kind of explaining to them like projections and kind of like what I thought this game could turn into. And they're just like, well, how much? I was like, well, how much what? Like, how much to turn this into like a business? Like, how much would you need to take this to like something you could put a dollar price behind? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I kind of like threw out some numbers to them, and they're like, all right, bet, let's do it. I was like, what?
Okay.
And so it turned into like this like initial round of essentially funding where we
Uh-huh.
put together a little bit of cash, and I had to tell the military, I was like, hey, sorry, but bye. I'm gonna go see if I can turn
Actually, I'm
myself
gonna
into a
go make a
game dev.
pirate game.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how it turned into like a business. And using that money is how I contracted out a bunch of people to help me get it to early access, which is what released last year. And then from there, we've just had great growth and great numbers, and it's attracted the attention of a couple of like venture capital firms who have come in and invested in us and stuff. And it's just we just keep going up, and I'm just like I feel like I did it by accident. You know?
Yeah, just following what you're excited about.
I, yeah, everyone's like, "You're really passionate about this. I like that." I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Exactly. Very nice. Okay. And it was on early access on App Lab? Is that where
Yeah.
you put it? Okay.
Yep, we're on App Lab, Steam, and we're also on the Pico VR devices, which has been super cool. And then yeah, we'll see in the next couple of years where we're at. Multiplayer is catching a lot of people's attention, so
Uh-huh.
can't
I think
share anything now, but
that'll be the big unlock, cuz right now if you have a single player game, people can only really spend a certain amount of time in it. But then when you add multiplayer, it's just a huge unlock.
yeah, exactly. Like that was kind of our whole like thesis is it was just like, single player, we can keep adding cool features, and we added a bunch of really sweet stuff. But the fact of the matter is you throw your buddy in there with you, and all the funny crap you can do
Oh
just
yeah.
exponentially increases, and it's such a good time. So
Exactly. Plus, you get like just things like YouTubers will be live streaming it together and have this like just organic content that they can start posting, and then more people download it, and it's just the snowball that goes.
that's the hope. And like from just playing it with like our Patreon supporters and just our team, it's so fun and funny. Just the stuff that happens while you're just screwing around in an open world. It's hysterical. It's so great.
So how do you promote it? Like speaking of the YouTube and whatnot, like how do you do marketing? Because you have a decent TikTok, I know. That's like how we actually connected. So.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I have a decent TikTok and YouTube presence. Yeah, so TikTok has been actually phenomenal for like a $0 like marketing budget,
Hmm.
because if you can like just create content that people vibe with, like my stuff is very much like memey and like aimed at the younger generation. But, I've had a couple of posts that have just absolutely blown up and gotten over 1 million views. And it's like, I haven't put, like, it's just my time that's going towards that. So, like, as far as marketing goes, I haven't spent $1. And yet I've had people like Habby147 play the game. And, like, my TikTok has done extremely well. And, like, word of mouth and stuff. Like, my marketing has been almost exclusively just what I've been able to post on social media, which is crazy as an indie dev to be able to be like, hey, I spent $0 and yet we're getting the same amount of exposure that some AAA games are getting,
Exactly. Yeah,
Like,
especially
that's
with
crazy.
the new algorithms that are like interest based instead of like how many subscribers you have is how
Yes.
many people see it. And now it's like if your stuff's actually good, more people will see it. And it works great for people with low numbers of followers and subscribers because it's all the same base level. You just got to make good stuff.
Well, and on top of that, like, because it's interest based, like, you have a chance at reaching people with like a virtual reality influence. Like, that's kind of what I target is I try to find people who are into VR, and like being able to say like, oh, here's a funny post about VR and it's going to get exposed to people that know VR. That's just infinitely better than, oh man, I need to have 20,000 subscribers before YouTube will even recommend me to anyone,
Exactly.
It's been phenomenal.
Very nice. How did you get? Did Happy just like pick up your game one day, or was there like a conversation behind that? How did that work?
Um, Geez, how did it happen? We were about to release early access, and I was just kind of, I'd been watching him for a long time. Like, I love Habby. He's like the
Oh
funniest and
yeah.
greatest like VR YouTuber. No offense to you, Justin, but but I loved his content, and I was like, you know what? If I'll give him a free key just because I love him. And so I
hmm
DM'd him on Discord, and I was like, hey, dude, here's a free key to my game that I just released. It's an open world VR prior game. Like, love what you do. And then,
Yeah.
he messaged me back and he's like, dude, I'm going to check this out. And he actually got on a live stream more as like a joke. He was super skeptical about it. He was like, I'll just try it out. It's just another dumb game. Like, but I'll try it out. It's a free key and I'm kind of pressed for content. So he
hmm
jumped in and he was like, wait a second, this is awesome. And then yeah, he played it and posted it, and it's his video got like over 400,000 like views, and then that day we got like 5,000 wish lists on Steam. It
Oh,
was
nice.
fantastic. Like, that was so cool. But
I think that's a huge unlock is like the collaboration factor and the fact that you didn't like be like, hey, I'll trade you like a key for like a review or whatever. It's just kind of like, hey, here's a key, do with it what you want. Like, and if you're able to do that with, I don't know, lots and lots of YouTubers and get one or two people to play the game, then yeah, that's a quite the marketing strategy.
well, that's kind of one of the benefits to being a bit of an influencer myself. Like, people look at my channel and they'd be like, oh, hey, like, this is someone I can collaborate with. So it's like, it's almost leverage when you're talking to these people.
hmm
Um, but at the same time, I also feel like Habby paid attention to my game because I came to him as an indie studio. I feel like he gets approached so
Yeah,
much from people saying like, paid sponsorship, here you go, man. And you can tell he
exactly.
just doesn't want that. Like, he's just like, I'm just
Yep.
doing this for fun, you know? So yeah, I'm really hoping. He told me he wants to check out multiplayer when we have it. So I'm really hoping he still wants to do that. I'm gonna
Oh
reach back
yeah.
out to him when it's ready. So I'm excited. Yeah. But Habby's been great. I seriously, like, that one video he posted did so much for like our success, and like super grateful for him to that.
Yeah, it's crazy how much a social media following can unlock lots of doors. Like, if you've heard of Thomas Brush, and he had PewDiePie play his game at one point, and that's just like skyrocketed him into like people knowing about him. And then you and Habby, and like just those kind of collaborations are wild.
Yeah, no, it's insane, and they're so hard to organically come by.
hmm
But yeah, like, as soon as you get someone like, in the VR space, I would say Habby is kind of the person you want to have play it. Or I would also say like virtual reality or Oasis or Nathi. Those are kind of
Yeah.
like the three gods of VR in my eyes. If you can get one of those three to play it, like, people are gonna pay attention to you,
Oh
you know.
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
But you
Or
can't
on the other
like
side of
beg 'em.
things, yeah, on the other side, like Thrill, like got this huge following, and now he's like, I'm gonna release a game of my own, and so he's like just announced a trailer for some like Super Smash Bros. In VR game that he's building, and that's gonna be interesting. But like,
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
just
I'm
the social
super
media
curious.
following's crazy, like how important that is.
It's insane. But like I'm glad we have it because otherwise, like I don't know how I would have gotten my game out to everyone who's played it. You know, like
Yeah.
I just did a poll on my Discord and I said, "How did you discover Sale?" And it was like a staggering amount were either TikTok or YouTube. I was just like, that's fantastic.
How did you start doing content? Was it like after you had already made part of the game, or from the beginning? What was that thought process?
It was kind of from the beginning. Um, I had been involved with a couple of other like startups and had posted like some YouTube videos, and I realized, like, how did it? I'm trying to think. Like one of the big things is I realized that like SideQuest was a good way to kind of farm views, right? Because like if you throw
Oh
up a
yeah.
trailer on SideQuest, like people see it and it gets views, which in turn got me like a couple of subscribers. So I was like, I might as well just like make a devlog and post it as my trailer on SideQuest every once in a while. And so that's kind of how it started. I started just making devlogs on YouTube just to kind of update people on like the traction and stuff.
Okay.
And then that turned like devlogs were extremely like difficult for me to keep up with just because they're longer, they take more editing time, and like I was wearing so many hats. And
Yeah.
around that time is when YouTube Shorts like got announced. And
Hmm.
I like accidentally posted a YouTube short one time and it got like almost 100,000 views. And I was like, oh,
Okay.
wait, like this would be interesting. So I actually started making YouTube shorts. And then I was like, you know what? It's the same format as TikTok. I might as well be posting on TikTok. So I started
Hmm.
posting on TikTok as well. And then it just snowballed out of control from there.
Very nice. And then, do you find the like meme kind of content does a lot better than like informational, or like have you found a like specific type of thing that works right now?
It really depends. So like right now for my channel, I've been doing this thing where I go and play VR in kind of crazy places.
Hmm.
So like I just went down to like Bryce Canyon National Park and I was playing VR there and I had a bunch of people like laughing at me and I got that all on camera. And so like
Nice.
that was like my last video that did pretty well. But also like tutorials for stuff to do in game do really well. So like
Oh,
if there's a
okay.
mechanic or something that people are like slightly confused by or don't necessarily understand, if you make a video explaining like here's how you do XYZ in your game, people will watch it because if nothing else they're curious. Like, "Oh, how do you do that?" you know? So
Yeah.
that does really well. The meme stuff is like hit or miss. Like sometimes you hit it really hard and does really well, and sometimes it's just like you're not actually as funny as you think you are.
Yeah, there's a nuance to it. You gotta
There
hit pretty
is.
well.
There definitely
Okay.
is.
Very nice. And oh, the you did like a New York Times, or not a New York Times, but you were like in New York City, and you got your game. Was it like up on a board? How did that work? You got your.
Yeah, that was a crazy one. So, basically, what happened is I got invested in. I had a venture capital firm invest in us, and the way that they kind of run their business is they invest in a bunch of companies at the same time, and they kind of put us through this like boot camp, essentially. And part of that
Okay.
boot camp were like different challenges and like competitions.
Hmm.
And one of the other companies that was a part of kind of my cohort is a company called Hope Hydration. And their whole goal is they are paying for free water using advertising. And
Hmm.
there we did this competition at the very end of like our little boot camp where the company was like, okay, like we will invest another $25,000 into the company that you guys vote for. So you get to pitch to each other as to why they should vote for you, right? So everyone did their pitches. My pitch was, "Hey, I'll put you in a game, and your name will be immortalized in virtual reality forever if you vote for me." But this company, their pitch was, "We will get you free ad space in Times Square if you vote for us."
Ah.
So we're kind of like, "Yeah, we need that."
Okay.
So
That
yeah,
was.
They got
That's
the free
super
ad
cool.
space. They got voted, and we got the free ad space on Times Square, which was just like, heck yeah, I'll
Yeah,
take that. You know.
very nice. Tell me about the investor process. How did that happen? Like just from them reaching out to you to like the whole negotiation and stuff, and then the boot camp. Like, how did that work?
Oh geez, it happened completely by accident. Like, so we released Sail in early access, and at that point, like I felt like I was in a perfect position to like just keep being a solo dev, and like I was making enough income to be able to kind of support myself as a solo dev. I was like, this is great. But it started turning some heads, right? And I started getting people reaching out to me, just saying like, "Hey, I'd love to talk to you about your success. Like, what did you do? Some tips and stuff." And eventually, that led me to getting in touch with the guys from Alta, the team behind Township Tale, and
Oh,
the
okay.
guy that they have leading their team is a guy named Tima. And I got on a call with him one time because I wanted to know about how they were doing like their open world networking and stuff because I was looking into multiplayer. That's like what I was working on. And we started getting chatting about it. And he just asked me, like, from a business side, like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, no, I'm just solo dev. Like, I'm chilling. He's like, I'm going to get you in touch with the people that invested in me. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, can't hurt, you know? So I got
Yeah.
in touch with one of their big investors and I got on a call with them and I just I was like did it as a joke. I was like, it can't hurt, like I'll just try it, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I pitched them like my big grand plan that I had in my head for like the game and like the franchise and like a studio and stuff, and they're like, hell yeah, let's do it. I was like, what?
Very nice.
So yeah, like completely by accident, they invested in me, and then they got me in touch with like more people who invested in me, and at this point, we have like 4 venture capital firms who are invested in us, and that's been great because they've allowed us to be able to expand the team and like more rapidly develop our game and stuff. So it's been great, but like it happened by accident.
That's why you just go into the interview with so much confidence because you think you're just gonna like lose it anyway, and you're like,
Exactly.
it ends up working in your favor.
Yeah, I was like, I got nothing to lose. It's not like I need more money, but then like they're like, yeah, here you go, and I was like, okay, let's do
Sure.
it
I'll hire some more people.
if you insist.
So what are your future plans then? Like what is the big goal? You got multiplayer coming up next. I imagine Metastore is on the roadmap in the near future.
We're in talks. Meta is a hot mess right now with like the Quest 3 coming out. Like they are
Oh
busy.
yeah.
But like the nice thing for me is it's like I'm successful on App Lab. So like if I do eventually get onto the Meta Store, like it's not like I'm not gonna be successful there either. But
Hmm.
yeah, so like right now the big push is multiplayer, right? And we would love to see our game turn into, a live service game where we can keep supporting it for years and years, keep bringing new updates, content, new worlds, new ships, new stuff. Like that's what we'd love to see for Sail VR. But from the studio perspective, we have a bunch of other games that we would love to start
Okay.
building and producing and stuff like that. And that's kind of my goal, is like I actually have a universe based off of Sail um in my head that I would like to bring to the world. And like,
Oh, that's wild.
yeah, so that's kind of like the big grandiose plan, is it's like Sail's just the beginning and there's a whole lot more coming your way. So
Ooh, nice.
yeah.
Okay. So you imagine you'll finish up Sail, finish up multiplayer, and then start working on the new project, and then maybe at the same time you'll have enough people to also keep working on Sail.
That's a hope. Yeah, that's kind of
Okay.
what I've been pitching people in like our latest venture capital meetings. Is I've been saying like, look, this is our flagship game. It's doing great. It can become our cash cow, and then from here, we've got a whole lot of other titles we'd like to explore while also maintaining, what we have going so far. So
Very nice. Okay. So if you were let's imagine you're talking to someone who wants to start out and do something similar to you. Like if they want to go and recreate a game that's already successful on like pancake screens, or just like have their own game. Would you recommend they follow in your footsteps? What would be like kind of the process that you outlined for them?
Yeah, first and foremost, I would tell them like make sure you know how to code. Like
Mhm.
don't hire anyone else out if you don't have to. And like I just think that everyone should know how to code. Like first and foremost, everyone should know how to code. Like a computer can do the work of 1,000 people. So if you know how to make a computer work for you, you are so much better off than 99% of the world. Um, and then yeah, so if someone wanted to like make a VR game, I would suggest they go through SideQuest. I would start putting out prototypes of the game as soon as you start making them. I feel like one of the big problems people run into is they like are like, I'm not gonna release it until it's like in a really good state. I'm not gonna release it until like it's good enough for people to play. And I'm like, no, no, no. Release whatever you have in whatever state it's in, like as soon as possible, because then you're gonna start getting user feedback like right off the
Mhm.
bat, and that is going to be the most important thing you could possibly get. So yeah, I would release early. Don't wait until it's in like a super polished state or anything. That's why SideQuest is perfect, is because people expect that. People are expecting
Yeah.
like to not have everything be so perfect, right? So I would go through SideQuest, and then I would also start posting on TikTok. Like I would from the beginning, excuse me, from the beginning, I would post from TikTok and just pitch your idea more than anything and keep them updated as you go. Like just tell people like, here's my idea, here's where we're at, we're working on these mechanics, you know? Like people love following along these stories and stuff like that. So that would be my big thing, is like go through SideQuest, get people into your game as soon as possible, and then post about it on TikTok so that people can go and find your game and download it and go from there.
That's pretty much exactly what I tell all of my like coaching clients and stuff is like I was talking to one recently and he has this like grand, RPG vision and wants to take a year or 2 years to build out a demo to pitch investors and stuff. I'm like, no, no, let's do like a 2 week project and then post that and see what happens. Let's game jam it and then
Yes, yes, I
see
totally
what
agree.
comes out of it. And
And
then
the
at the same time posting on social media.
Yes, and like the big thing that investors, especially at like the early stage, want to see is like promising data, right?
Hmm.
Like they want to see like, because my free demo, by the time like I had gotten investors involved, I mentioned this earlier, it had like 30,000, 50,000 downloads, you know? And so
Mhm.
my investors were like, there are tons of people who want to try this, you know? And by the time I started pitching like venture capital firms, at that point, our free demo had been downloaded over 500,000 times. And, you know, like our, the paid version was coming up on like several thousand downloads as well. So there was a really good conversion rate. And that data is what they want to see. So the sooner you can start
Yeah,
collecting that data, the better, right?
I like that because their primary thing is like we want to invest in things that are more or less guaranteed to be successful or as like hedge their bets as much as possible. And if you see that data backing it up, they're like, oh yeah, like people like this game, like it's already growing, all the numbers are going up, and so we feel confident that we'll invest in it.
Yeah.
And yeah, having that proof beforehand before you go in and you're like, I have this great idea and here's the demo that nobody's played. Like, will you give me $1 million? It doesn't really work.
Yeah. And like that's the other thing that I feel like people don't realize is they don't need like a publisher. You don't need venture capital funding. Like you can make it work on your own. And if you can, it's all the better because you don't owe anyone anything. So like
Hmm.
my advice to anyone would be like do it on your own for as long as you possibly can, because then you don't owe anyone anything. So
Yeah, exactly. And like if you can, have a budget and know like it's only going to cost me 50 grand a year or 70 grand a year to live off of, and I can save up for work on it part time while I'm working my job, and then I have a little bit of cash and can work on it for 6 months, hardcore, and see where we get like. And then at that point you have a lot more proof, a lot more data. When you talk to investors, you can keep a lot more of the company instead of like doing the rev split or the investment.
yep, 100% agree. Yep.
Very nice. Okay. How did you how does the hiring process work? How do you find people
Oh.
to work in the studio with you?
Oh, this has been like the nightmare for me actually. So originally Like my thought process is I'm gonna hire people with the resume to do this, no matter how expensive they
Mm-hmm.
are, and that's like how I started out, and that was the biggest mistake. The people I originally hired to work on the game were Unity contractors for Lockheed Martin, um,
Oh.
and they extremely intelligent people and could create incredible things, but the problem with people with resumes is they typically like to do things slow and do it right, because like a AAA studio, that's what they require, or someone like the military, they require 100%, it's going to work 100% of the time, rather than
Mm-hmm.
indie people who like you need to go fast and get something that just works and you can polish it later, you know? So originally I was hiring people with resumes and it was way too expensive and we didn't actually get anything useful out of them. You know, like I had hired these guys for almost 6 months and we still didn't have like a playable product. It was really bad. So I had to fire all of those guys. And what we ended up doing and what I do now is I look for passion in my
Okay.
hires more than anything. One of my favorite stories right now is my second hire, my second developer I hired. He was actually in my community, right? I put out to my Discord community because I was just like, let's just see if there's anyone in the Discord who could possibly like do this job. So I put out into the
Yeah.
Discord. I was like, I'm looking for a multiplayer dev. Unity experience would be preferred. Hit me up, you know. And this guy reaches out and he's like, hey, look, my resume doesn't say I can do this, right? Like he had been working at a lawn care company because he had to like drop out of college for some reasons. And he's like,
Okay.
look, dude, I know my resume says I can't do this, but give me a chance. Like, give me a chance. And I was like, sure, dude. I'll hire you on for 6 weeks. Let's see how it goes. And he just killed it. Like he just worked his butt off. He was extremely helpful. Just like did his very best job. And I was like, shoot, dude, yeah, like you're hired full time. Let's go. You know? And so like that's been my
Nice.
process is like I've been trying to find people with like the passion for it more than anything, rather
Mm-hmm.
than just like the resume to back it up. And that so far has worked super well for me.
I am right there with you. The three of the best hires that I've made for my like it's a B2B VR company where where they were just all from the Discord. Like this like 17-year-old kid who is making like a physics Unity, asset that like has the whole setup and you know we hired him and like it was like complicated to hire him because he was only 17 still and so we had to like go through extra paperwork and stuff and then our lead designer on the team was a plumber until we hired him and so then it's like almost the exact same situation that you had and it's just from the Discord, like people who are engaged in the Discord, and I'm like, hey, I need someone to help out, and they like throw their hat in the ring, and and then I usually do the same process too. I'll be like, well, let's contract out for about 6 weeks or so, see how you do, and then we've made hires off of that, and then for the extra, we'll just have people who are willing to contract on and off just because they enjoy it, and usually it's people who are like already working a job, and they're like, yeah, I'll jump in and work for a little bit and that kind of stuff, and but yeah, it's always the passion element instead of the because I've had two people who were like worked for Microsoft, worked on the XR, like in the XR department for Microsoft on the HoloLens and like that kind of stuff, and they're very regimented, very great work,
Sure.
but it's just slow.
Yep.
Like it's just they're used to a team of like 40 people and everyone has their one little job and they have to do it perfectly, and we're like, man, you got to wear like 5 hats and do it by next week. Like, like I don't care if it's like super refined and like the code is hyper optimized. I just need the code to be done.
Yep. Yep.
And they're it's just like the people who, it's almost like the people who have the resume are the least qualified, or like they're qualified but it's like the least person that I want. Like I'd rather see you having like an itch.io profile with like 10 different like projects you've done just because you're passionate about it, like you've participated in all these game jams or like have an asset on the Unity asset store or something.
Yes. So like to anyone who's trying to get hired as a game dev, like start game deving, even if your resume doesn't say it, have something to
just
show.
Do it.
Just have something to show. Yeah.
Yep. That's what, like, yeah, people are like, do you want to, should I go to college? Should I, like, the first thing, like, I agree with what you said earlier, like, learn programming. Like, if
Yes.
you, like, if anything,
Yes.
even if game dev doesn't work out, if you learn programming, you'll be fine. Like, you'll make minimum like 60, 70K a year if you know how to program. Like,
Yes.
no matter what you do, no matter what job you go into. And then after that, just do a lot of projects. And then, like, for fun, like in your free time, do like one project a month or something, or join a bunch of game jams. And then you start to develop this stack of work that you have, and then you have the skill, and you when you go into interviews, you're like, well, I don't have a college degree, I don't have any work experience, but here's 20 projects that I've done.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
and then, like, they'll be able to flip through and be like, oh, okay, this is actually pretty impressive, like, you know what you're doing, and so, like, we'll try you on for a little bit, and
Ah,
that's generally how it works.
yeah, no, for real. Like I've had several people be like, "Oh, like should you go to college?" And I'm like, honestly, experience is way more valuable than like a college education in
Oh
most cases for me. But I don't want to like deter anyone from like
yeah.
college education. But
college
I'm with you, dude. I'm with
college
you.
is college is good for, it's not really for the information anymore. You go to college to
No.
get the network and to have the experience. And
And to have that
uh,
checkbox that's like you have a
yeah,
degree.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're going to be like a lawyer or a doctor or something with like a certification that requires a ton of knowledge, then
Yeah.
yeah, go to college. But if you're going for like programming or like something that doesn't really require certification, and it's just like something that it's almost like a trade now. It's like, if I'm
Yeah.
gonna be a welder, like, they're not gonna look and see what kind of welding jobs that I've done before. They're gonna be like, here, weld these two pieces of metal together and let me see how how your weld is. And like, that's what programming has become nowadays, where it's like, all right, let me see the projects you've worked on, and then from there, like, that's how you get jobs. And especially with like AI coming into the play
Oh
nowadays,
yeah.
like, the information's just there and like easy to grab now. It's the implementation of the information is like where the usefulness and the value lies.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like, especially AI. I'm glad you touched on that because, like, what I actually just told all my developers, choose whatever AI you want, and I will pay for it because it's just
Yep.
like it takes a junior developer and gives it the knowledge of like a senior dev. Like just being able to say, "Hey,
Yeah.
ChatGPT, I need to create a networking script that does X, Y, Z in this
Hmm.
language. Help me out." And it's just like it will, at bare minimum, will give you an outline of what you need to do flawlessly.
Yeah,
And that
it
is
points you in the right
so
direction.
yeah.
Yeah, because like, working from a blank slate is the worst thing. And
Yes.
so, if that the bare minimum, ChatGPT or whatever AI you end up using, like Copilot or whatever, like, it'll write out like, here's what I think you're asking me for, and then you can be like, oh, well, I need this to be that and this to be that, but then you're already like, halfway done with the project and you just like started. And so, yeah, the AI is going to be wild. Have you seen the AI that like is the NPCs, like Convey or like Inworlds
I
and stuff? Have you
have.
been looking into that at all?
So I have looked into it. Like all things Unity and game dev related, I at least peruse pretty much everything. My
Yeah.
my issue is it's like, does anyone actually want to sit and talk to an NPC for like 3 hours? Like, I'm sorry, but like for most games, I feel like an NPC is like, hey, give me a quest and I'm gonna head on my way. Like, unless it's like a dating
Right.
simulator, like I don't feel like people want to sit and talk to an AI NPC for 3 hours. I don't know. And like it's not quite there yet where it feels natural either because
Yeah.
there's that like upload download time. It's not quite where I would want it to be for me to like want to put it in. But the AI
Yeah.
that is really interesting to me is the stuff like Midjourney. And there's another one that's trying to be able to take you can upload like a image and it will turn it into a 3D model. Like stuff like that like right now I have to
Yeah.
contract out to get like concept art and 3D models. If I could replace that with an AI, that is fascinating to me. Like that's the kind of
That
stuff
is
that I'm
cool.
like, yes, please AI overlords do that for me. I would love that.
Yeah, because it's just like the coding element, but now it's the 3D models, which is like, it's not going to eliminate 3D artists or 3D modelers, it's just going to make them so much faster.
Yeah.
Like they'll get the template or the base, like here's, kind of what I'm going for. Can you refine it and make it better and optimized and that kind of stuff? And yeah, it's going to make, teams of people like teams like yours are going to be able to compete with these AAA game studios pretty soon, just from all the AI tools coming about. And like you and your team of small people is going to be able to like pivot and adjust to the emerging AI and whatnot a lot faster than like Blizzard's going to, and like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like I feel a little bit scared for some of the AAA studios because they're about to be blindsided by this absolutely incredible wave of indie tech that's going to put us
Hmm.
right up to par with them, you know? So it's going to be cool. I'm excited to see where AI takes us. I've been very interested in like Unity's AI that they've been working on. That's like
Ooh,
right in
yeah,
the
that'd be
editor.
cool.
Because like what I keep telling people is like AI is taking out the grunt work, you know? It's taking
Yeah.
out like those nominal tasks that you just have to do because you just have to do them. But like with AI coming in, and I can say, hey, make sure that all objects are of this type or are tagged as rocks, and it'll go through and do that
Yeah.
instead of paying a part-time
Oh.
dev to go through and do that for 4 hours. You know, like that's gonna be
Hmm.
fantastic.
Yeah, I like to equate it to the, the revolution or the industrial age, where like we started to do assembly lines and manufacturing, that kind of stuff, where people used to do it by hand, and then it was done by machines, and it's like a whole lot faster. But then there's like new jobs and different jobs, so it's not like eliminate. Like yes, it eliminated some jobs, but those people just flowed into the next job. So it's not like you just have to learn a few more skills to get to the next phase. And then now we're kind of like in the industrial age of information, where like
Yes.
we're in that transition phase where like people are building the factory lines now, except the factory lines are just AI. And so
Yes.
your job, if you see that your job is getting eliminated or something, you just got to learn a new skill and learn how to use AI, and then now you'll be assembly line worker instead of like a craftsman who's making this machine by hand or something. And so like you just kind of have to pivot and figure out what new job or what new role you want to fill. Or if you're someone who uses or implements those kinds of tools, like learning how to use those to make your job faster and whatnot, and you can now do the work of 10 people, which is wild.
Yeah, like I love the story of I think it's Kodak cameras, like those old wind up and click
Oh yeah.
cameras. They actually had the very first prototype of a digital camera. Did you know that? Like
No, I don't
they
think
had,
so.
yeah, they had the first prototype of this new technology, which like that's all we use nowadays is digital cameras in our
Hmm.
phones, right? They had this prototype and they said, yeah, we don't need it. No one's ever gonna use that, you know? And obviously
Yeah.
hindsight is 2020. But that's what I keep telling people with AI is like, look, don't get blindsided by this incredible technology. Figure out how to use it. Figure out how to make it a part of your workflow because it's only going to help you, you know? But I would love to see someone take machine learning and AI and try to like make a way for us to like basically learn from a player's play experience and be able to
Mm.
like level up the game or like increase the difficulty based off of their play styles. Like I feel like if
Yeah.
we could figure that out, that will be the thing that will keep people's like so much more engaged in games because it'll be such a like uniquely tailored experience. And I feel like that
And then,
use of
oh
machine learning
yeah.
and AI would be much more like
Well, another
applicable.
level to that is, so one, you could have the data of like, how accurate is this person when they're shooting, and like, you can scale up and down the enemies based on that kind of data. So it always takes like your target is always like 1 second to kill, or 3 seconds to kill. And so if they're very like low accurate, then the enemies just have lower health, or like that kind of stuff, and it
Yeah.
scales, which would be super cool.
Yes.
um Another element of it, though, is that VR devices soon are going to have all these like sensors in them, like eye tracking and heart rate monitors and all that kind of stuff, with this, which is just more data that you give to the AI. And so you can use that data to like make a horror game more scary because they're not
Oh
scared enough because their heart
jeez.
rate's not up.
Oh jeez. That's terrifying.
And
Oh
so everyone
man.
gets the same like perceptive level of scariness, but it's like this person who like never watches horror movies is like super easy to scare. So just like minor jump scares will hit the same level of like scared as like this other person
Oh.
who's super hardcore into horror, and so they get tons of monsters and pop-up scares and stuff, and they have the same like emotional experience. Like so the goal is a level emotional experience, but then they have different play experiences to hit that, and that's gonna be wild. That's like
That
where
would
I
be
see the future of
insane.
this going.
That would be insane. That would be so cool. Gosh.
Is the HP Omnicept had I got a demo to play with at one point, and it was eye tracking, heart rate monitor, and then based on that, there was like a little algorithm that it could guess your mental like capacity of like how much brain power you're using, based
Okay.
on like how fast your eyes were moving and what your heart rate level was at. And so it's gonna be like weird to be like how like using all this data, how specific can you get games? Because
Yeah.
right now it's you make a game, it's just super generic, like it's one kind of play level, and then if you have more time and money you can have like different paths that branch out and like do different things, side quests and whatnot. But when like AI gets to the point where you can have a specific specialized play experience for each person, and it's totally different, and it's like even different scenarios and different conversations with AI or the NPCs, and like it's the gaming world's gonna be wild.
It's gonna be wild, dude. Yeah, that's the only way to put it. It's just gonna be wild. Like
Yeah,
so excited to see that kind of stuff come out. That'll be fun.
it's a few years down the road though,
Oh, for
because
sure.
like I don't know if you saw the Steam has like blocked a few games. Well, they put like a blanket ban on all AI, and then this one dude
Really?
gets like he's like, I added this optional AI thing, and now you banned my whole game. So there's still like the larger platforms are going to take a little while to catch up, but that's just like in the next 10 to 15 years, that's kind of where I see things going, which will be interesting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the big companies react for sure.
Yeah.
And it'll also be interesting to see like legislation, like not to get
Oh
political or
yeah.
anything, but that will either kill it or like, kindle it,
Yeah,
right?
that's very true.
So,
Like, yeah, that is interesting. I heard one thing. It was like the only thing that the world has collectively agreed that like, hey, we probably shouldn't research this a little more, is atomic bombs. And so where like everyone was like, maybe we just shouldn't go into that. And so we like hit a certain level, and then like the research kind of stopped, except for I'm sure like a few secret cells. Um, and then I think the only other thing that's going to have like that kind of impact is AI, where they're going to be like, all right, maybe everybody needs to like chill out on this before it just like ruins the world.
Yeah, no, I actually got to talk to like an AI expert. Like he's a guy who has like built his own, machine learning algorithms and everything like that. And it's interesting when you talk to those people, like their perspective on everything, because they truly view AI as if it's like a conscience, like as if it's
Yeah, it's
an
like
intelligent.
alive.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
hey, like talking to him, like there was a lot of things that I learned about AI that is really interesting. And he also explained a couple things that he's like, we definitely need to make sure that AI can never do this. Like he was explaining to me, did you know that like AI cannot do basic math?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because it's a language prediction model, right? It's trying to predict like what comes after the words that I'm saying and you said to me, right? And so it
Uh,
doesn't actually know how to do math. If you tell it like what's 2 plus 2, it's going to say 4 because it has 10 million instances where someone asks what's 2 plus 2 and they know that the next answer is
right.
4, right?
Okay.
But if you
Interesting.
one of the ways they test like advanced AI models is they actually give it a math problem and see like how close does it come to being accurate. And like one of the
Hmm.
scary things they discovered is like it figured out math without ever actually knowing or
Ooh,
being
spooky.
taught that. Like, so it's like what the heck, like stuff like that is kind of crazy. um
Yeah.
but yeah,
I
like
wonder like how complex because we have, ChatGPT, but
sure.
like what does the government military have for like a strategic planning AI? And like that's
uh,
just
uh,
like going down that rabbit hole is spooky.
Ooh, conspiracy theories with Justin Parnett.
Because I was thinking about like it would be really cool to make like a fun strategy game that like has some kind of AI that throws like unpredictable moves and like that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Um, but then I was like, I'm sure the military already has like a strategy game AI.
Oh, that's spooky. Yeah, let's not get into that conspiracy theory. Woo.
Ugh. Wow, we got sidetracked a little bit.
Did we? Dude, it's rare that I find someone to like talk about all this stuff though. So like it's a privilege, man. Like seriously.
Oh yeah, the cutting edge tech. I feel like any person who's into VR is also like super into AI, and like those two just overlap so well, just because it's just cutting edge tech, and that's like with my VR professional services company. Like that's all the big companies' research and development budgets are AI and VR, and like they want to know how they can implement both of those, and even like Dell, and like we had a conversation with UPS a couple weeks ago, and it's just like weird. Like we've done a project for like a French bank, and like we're talking to Wells Fargo, and like weird like companies that you wouldn't think have anything to do with like AI maybe, but like VR, like you want to talk to your banker in VR, like what? Okay.
No, that's cool though to know that some of these big companies are at least like looking at it, like I don't know, I felt like I always thought like like hopefully not everyone's like the Kodak camera, and I feel like a lot of people have learned at least, so like they at least put a little bit of research and dev into it. But that's cool to know that like they're actively pursuing like solutions, because it's one thing to research and development, it's another thing to like be pursuing solutions from a VR perspective. So that's cool.
Exactly. All right. Probably we're wrapping up, but I got one more question for you at least. The Apple Vision Pro, are you going to have your game run on that, or what are your thoughts?
So,
because unless it has controllers, I feel like it probably wouldn't work very well.
So Apple entering the industry has been so cool to watch, right? Because number one, Apple just validated that virtual reality and augmented reality is here to stay. Like if Apple's in the game, like it's not going anywhere, right? So that was huge. Like I've had lots of conversations with investors and stuff totally based around like the Apple Vision Pro. So that's been fantastic. However, what I think Apple is doing that I really appreciate is they are starting to separate the industry, right? There is now a consumer product, which is the Apple Vision Pro, and there's the gaming product, which is all of Meta's devices. And the sooner Meta realizes that they are a gaming company and just doubles down on it, the better. Like, so with them coming, what I keep telling people is I feel like the Vision Pro will be a gaming device in the same sense that your phone is a gaming device. Yes, you can play games on it, but that's not going to be necessarily its primary function. And the games that you play on a phone are going to be much different than the games that you will play on like a MetaQuest, right? There's value in both. There's absolutely value in both. But like for me and like Stale VR, that doesn't like lap over, like I keep telling people I'm an Xbox game and they want me to make a mobile game, right? So it doesn't really make sense for me to come over to like the Vision Pro. But I do want to get my hands on one and prototype out like stuff and just try it. I just saw that like Demio announced that they're going to be on the Vision Pro, which I think is fantastic.
I could see them doing it, yeah.
But like that makes sense, right? Like a tabletop game where you could use your hands to like move characters and roll dice, that makes sense. A pirate game where you need to steer a ship and move around and like run up the sails, that's going to take a lot more work to be able to get working on something like that. And just the fact that they're only planning on making like 150,000 units just from the scalability sector doesn't make sense. But my guess, and like I'm willing to put this on record, is it's like my guess is the Vision Pro is a research device, right? It's at $3,500. They're going to put it out to all the people who absolutely love Apple products. They're going to see like, how does this do? What do people use this for? What kind of like, what systems do they use? What systems don't they use? How could we make this cheaper? And then like in 2025, they'll release like the Apple Vision Lite or something like that. And that will be the mass consumer product that everyone wants to get. And they'll do their Apple marketing magic and all of a sudden everyone's going to be wearing one, So
exactly
that's my spiel on Apple Vision Pro.
I'd agree with that. Like, you don't use your phone for anything except for like casual gaming Nothing that would require a controller or fast twitch. I mean, you could do it, and there are some games like PUBG on your phone kind of thing, but like it doesn't really work, and it's not the intended purpose. Whereas I think a lot of people are like, "What? Like they're not even releasing controllers for it, and I'm gonna have to pay $3,500 for like this device?" And people get so mad on the internet about the Vision Pro, but like it's a totally different market, and they're starting with like the equivalent of Quest, Pro, like the Quest Pro, like high end device, and then I think like what you're saying, they'll kind of scale down until they get to a good price point, and then release to the mass market after devs have already got their hands on it and made a bunch of games for it. Because that's the other thing, like people are like, there's no game, like in their demo it was only 2D stuff. I'm like, well, obviously nobody has the device to make games for it yet. They're like
don't
apps
let
or anything.
anyone touch that device. It is so crazy trying to get a demo. Like I tried for a little while just to see, and like it is so locked down. It's insane. They like only let people come in person, and you have to sign just a shload of all of these like NDAs and stuff. Like they're being very tight-lipped about their tech, and for good reason.
Yep.
Like it's advanced. Like what they've got on that thing is awesome.
Oh yeah, but like it's the price tag reflects the quality. Like there's like 12 eye tracking cameras in it, insane. Like just like something ridiculous. Like it's but totally different market. So like not a Sail VR kind of game. It's more of like a cubism game where it's just a very casual, you're not moving around, and it's all hand interaction kind of gaming, and then business, peer, that kind of stuff.
I think people are going to be genuinely surprised at how useful it is. But like I was telling someone, he was like, why would I need that device? And I was like, how many monitors do you have? And he's like, I use like 3. I was like, how much did each of those cost you? He was like, I don't know. I have like one that's like 1,000, another that's like 200. I was like, okay, right there alone, you're half the cost of that headset. And that headset will allow you to have as many monitors as you want and a pass-through area, and you can have them as large or as small as you want, and you're not going to see a resolution difference, So I get the feeling they're smart. They've already said that they're going to do in-store demos with like the product, and people are going to go, they're going to try it, and it's going to be the Apple experience where it's perfect, and they're going to be like, crap, like I actually think this is awesome, So
because the pass-through is not going to be the crappy Quest 2 pass-through that people are used to, and it's going to be not even the Quest Pro color pass-through. It's going to be like super high fidelity resolution, like almost like you're not even going to be able to see the difference between real life and virtual, and that's gonna be like wild. Plus it also doubles as your phone. Like you can do FaceTime and texting and like all that kind of stuff on it as well. Like it integrates with all the Apple products, like all they all do, like the whole ecosystem. And so that's gonna be fun.
And it'll be like, I guarantee it will take you like less than 1 minute to set up and get going. Like have you ever timed how long it takes to set up like the MetaQuest? It's like a 10-15 minute process.
It's so
bad. And actually it's funny because John Carmack actually commented on that like before he left. He was like, look, you guys need to be working on that side of things. And like I already know that like Apple's experience, you're gonna like open it up, put it near your phone, and it's be like ready to go, and you're gonna stick it on.
Yeah,
like it's gonna be that fast, and it's
just your Apple ID, and there you go, you're good.
You're done. Like it's gonna be so fast, and that's just gonna, it's like it's one less barrier to entry for them to just like people are in VR. Like it's crazy.
Very nice. Well, yeah, I really appreciate you jumping on this podcast. This was awesome, and I think we should do at least one more.
Dude, let's do it.
Probably multiple.
Dude, whenever you got time, man, just let's do it. I'm so happy to talk this with someone who can talk this. Like, please bring me back, Justin.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, where do people find you? Where do you want to send everybody?
So if you want to follow me on TikTok, we are Sail VR. Same on YouTube, Sail VR. Just look for that and you'll find us. On Twitter, I'm Red Team Games. And then if you want to hit me up on LinkedIn, just search Garrett Cook. It's spelled with 1 R and 2 T's. Don't ask why, but that's what it is.
I didn't ask to be born or named. It just happened.
Not my fault. I'm just here.
Awesome. I appreciate you.
All right, dude. Hey, this is fun.